So at long last, we have finally gotten the 3.9 update in our hands. It's a bit of a controversial one, but it brings some nice improvements to the game, while also skipping out on a few other nice improvements that were expected. Join your favorite tomato as I dive into a slightly embellished overview filled with my own opinions about the latest major update to Star Citizen. As always, I'd like to thank you for coming to this tomato talk. Now before we get started, I will say this update was meant to include persistence from 3.8.2, but unfortunately we've just seen too many glitches, so a hot patch was released and stats will be reset for this patch. Now let's get on with it. As of 3.9, Port Olisar is no longer a starting point. This space station was the first thing citizens saw for years, but now you will be limited to spawning into one of the 3 current planets. One of those planets is Microtech, which sees the addition of the new landing zone, New Babbage. This landing zone is the first truly high-tech location in the game. If you'd like to learn more about the various landing zones you can look forward to and how they compare to what is currently available, I have a video for that, which I will link in the pop-up and in the video description. With the addition of Microtech comes a new selection of clothing and environmental armor. All clothing and armor have also been given a functional temperature window, so you'll need to consider what you wear and when you wear it. And check this out, after being amongst the elements for some time, you'll see accumulation on your armor. Pretty nice little detail. Of course, keep an eye out for my upcoming Microtech cinematic, which will heavily feature the city, and subscribe here if you don't want to miss it. Microtech's 3 moons have also been added: Calliope, Euterpe, and Clio. All were built within weeks using the new Planetech V4 tools that CIG has built in-house, and they came out quite nice. Each is unique with its own defining features. However, Calliope and Euterpe look suspiciously similar to me. A big new addition this patch is the player status system. With this system, you'll need to keep an eye on several aspects of your health. New to the system are hunger, thirst, in both environmental and body temperatures. These go alongside the already existing oxygen and health meters. Everything has been updated to be more dynamic and pleasing to the eye, which I thoroughly enjoy, and after several hours of play I haven't noticed eating or drinking being a nuisance. If anything, it looks like it will take at least 10 hours to die from either of these things. This is something that I think will be balanced over time, but I'm not really annoyed with the survival mechanics as long as they aren't too intrusive. But the display of these status icons now, those can get very annoying in the corner of your eye while playing. Just look at how much movement there is over there when almost nothing is happening in game. Over the course of 6 minutes, I receive a passive notification for my oxygen level dozens of times, simply because it's decreasing to 99% and then replenishing. Yeah, I'm not a fan of this. It looks pretty, but I think they can make the system more concise, only calling your attention when absolutely necessary. Let's talk about building blocks. Building blocks is a UI system that was developed in order to allow devs in any part of the company to build a GUI in-game for themselves. 3.9 gives us several additions using this system. First is the Personal Inner Thought Interaction System, which I will be calling PITIS from here on out. I really like it. It's simple, easy, intuitive, and looks like something out of a possibly finished game. Sometimes I'll jump into another game and think to myself, man, it'd be nice if Star Citizen could create something that feels like it's weighted in the game, like a finished product. While obviously that's not important in an alpha, it still goes some distance in building confidence in what can be expected when we eventually reach that point. This interaction system does that. Here are the basics on how to use the Star Citizen Personal Inner Thought Interaction System. Hold F and right-click to call up the main menu. Left-click to move forward through menus, Right-click to move backwards. Menus are contextual, based on what you are doing, but you can click options to save them if you always want them at your main menu. Every option that you see has a key binding, which can be accessed tucked away in the pause menu, but you can also now see these key bindings on the PITIS itself. And here's a stroke of genius, you can set any of these key bindings right there in the menu to avoid being taken out of the game. For a game like Star Citizen with so many key bindings that change based on what you're doing, this is a godsend. This is one of the biggest quality of life changes I've seen in this game, and from here on out, this will be one of the first things I introduce to newcomers. I know some people don't like this system and think it's very console-esque, it's not going to work well with a mouse, and think it's a waste of time, but I think this is a great system for casual players and most other people who don't want to spend hours in the pause menu. Can it be improved? Yeah, but I think it's still needed. Next building blocks addition, Microtech buttons. All the buttons. I have got to say straight away, one of the first things I learned to appreciate about these new buttons you find all over Microtech for things like elevators and doors is the notification that something is actually happening. In 3.82 and prior, you could select a destination, but unless you got some visual glitches or your sound was turned way up, it was hard to know you were moving when in an elevator. And if you were calling an elevator come pick you up, well, you just had to keep faith that you got the button pressed right, or try again until the door opened. These buttons also just look much more polished in final art and are a great joy to use compared to the floating text of before. All praise building blocks. Finally, we got a new system for weapon attachments. The weapon attachment system is basically what you remember from Crysis, which makes sense. I've also seen similar systems in older games like FAS and Warface, the latter which also runs on CryEngine. But it has not caught on with most FPS games for reasons. I like the idea, and while the first iteration is a decent tier 1 and I know they've already stated improvements to the system will be coming, I am looking forward to a more streamlined approach with actual animations. So Planetech has come a long way since its first iteration. With each iteration comes quite a bit of improvement. We've heard the ever-elusive whispers and murmurs about how great the atmospheric improvements were to this new update, and the improvements seem nice from what I can tell. Just take a look at this view of Hurston from low orbit in 382 versus 3.9. You can see a bit more of the features which define the surface of the planet, and light seems to scatter a bit differently. Then there's this shot of Lorville in 382, which is slightly different from 3.9, with more particulate in the air and some form of clouds. And check out the differences between these eye candy shots of Magda in 3.8.2 versus 3.9. You can see the edited height map in action here, as well as slight differences in the lighting. With this patch, we received updated geological conditions based on temperature and humidity of any location on a planet, a system that has been shown off a few times over the last 6 months that I find to be very interesting. In addition to the local conditions of an area which will affect your survival rating, I believe weather systems are also more dynamic and generally won't be able to be predicted, allegedly. But as you can see here, it looks like clouds are still sweeping the planet in unison, so the jury's still out on that one. One cool thing about these weather effects is that they are joined by new animations from characters such as leaning into the wind and blocking the wind from their eyes when unprotected. More of those little details, but they're nice additions. Something that the devs have made known they want to change about the game in the short term is giving players the ability to stay in one planetary hub and get all of the gameplay they need. While we're still far away from that being a reality, I like to check each update and see how the contract availability has changed and see if they are really making the effort. Looking at delivery missions in 3.8.2, while we have some contracts available, every one of them requires flying across the system, and one of them even requires you to go to a different planetary system to pick up. This isn't a problem on its own, but there need to be local missions available to those who don't want to leave their home system or don't have the time. In 3.9 for delivery missions, it's the same thing. More delivery missions are available, but almost all of them are forcing me to go to New Babbage. That's not great for supporting various types of play. There was also a newly added prison transport hijacking mission, which pays pretty generously to anybody willing to take the heat. And of course, I'll pour one out for the Idris attack mission that was supposed to be part of this update but was pushed back. That would have been our first taste of large-scale combat, hopefully coming in a later 3.9 patch. This update brought us prisons, the first being Klesher Rehabilitation Facility, a place that you will be sent for reaching a certain wanted level and being killed within a range of bounty hunters or security. Once in prison, you can wait your time out either online or offline, or you can mine your way to freedom by extracting minerals and paying them into a central hub to get out sooner. Or you could kill someone else and steal their minerals. You can also try to escape through a platforming-heavy hidden escape route. Forewarning, escaping is only the first step to freedom if you do choose this method. Mining consumables have also been added to the game, to be used while cracking rocks with your ships. These consumables will provide various one-off benefits to you, such as increasing your power output or stabilizing a volatile rock. It is not a huge change, but ends up being more polished to an already deep gameplay opportunity in-game. I expect this is about the extent of gameplay included in the mining game loop before we see refining gameplay added. We could see more additional polish added to the extraction process, but mining feels pretty deep at this point. While it's one of the only gameplay loops available, it speaks well for what we can see from other professions. Mining also saw the addition of Quantanium, a new volatile mineral that is more valuable but dangerous to carry for extended amounts of time or when you are in danger of being bumped around. This addition shows that the career itself does not need to be changed to add more gameplay, but rather the collectibles and other aspects related to that career. This precedent bodes well for other professions if CIG continues to make changes like these. The Prowler has been added to the game. It is a human-made remake of the Tavaran dropship based off the documented findings of the old craft found in the Cabal system. Tavaran being a bird-like species that has lost most of its numbers after years at war with humanity. Many Tavaran are now part of the UEE, and thank God they are. They seem pretty cool, and I mean, look at this ship. You can see the bird-like influence in both interior and exterior design. And while it's not my particular cup of hot chocolate, cause, well, I love hot chocolate, it'll be awesome to use in Squadron 42 and other times in Star Citizen. Quality of life right here. The friends list has been updated to be easier to find, more feature equipped, better functioning, and best of all inclusive. Before, you might try to add a friend in the main menu, but they don't see the request. So you go to add them on the website, but notice it's a different list, so you don't know if it'll work. Do you add them or do you follow them? What is this? No longer. Now it won't matter where you add them, it's all one friends list, and you can see where they are and what they're doing. It's easier to party up, it's easier to see who's playing together, it's just a lovely addition, which makes the alpha easier to play. Of course, as always, there was a myriad of bug fixes as well as new bugs which happen in a constantly developing environment. Some people report gameplay's better than 3.8, but still suffers from some issues, and I've seen my fair share. I've heard desync is better, but I can't yet confirm. Experiences are all across the board, so we'll see what happens in the coming weeks and months and what hotfixes are released to allow everybody a better playing experience, hopefully not to the detriment of the next update. .9 brings some solid improvements to the game, and while I'm disappointed about some things that we missed out on, it is forward progress, which is something. Just remember that not everything added in these patches is on the roadmap, so keep an eye out for the smaller additions. Looking forward, it's certain we'll see various items added to and removed from the roadmap as is practice, so expect 4.0 to be a different beast than what is currently reflected, and expect to actually lose the name 4.0 next week, most likely to become 3.10. 4.0 will be saved for the update, which takes us out of the Stanton system. Now of course, I see you all watching my videos without subscribing. Yeah, you. And I would really appreciate if you did hit that button and let me know you want to see more of my stuff. But I appreciate you regardless. And whether my next video is a cinematic, gameplay, or lore video, I hope to see you right here with the Space Tomato.